join. Do you record the session?
I just hit the record button. We're so well connected.
Awesome.
We
So
practiced well.
yeah, if just in case if somebody's gonna miss this meetup, then we can just share the link and they can listen.
The recording is going to be available very soon, so make sure to hang around. Okay, one more minute. We have a lot of people in, and we can start. I can at least share the presentation file with you. So here goes. This is our kickoff. Welcome, everyone. I think so. It's 6+7, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. I can't even talk, so just don't mind me, whatever I say. Welcome to the very first kickoff virtual event for Friends of Figma Community Zagreb. That took whole 6 minutes to say, so I have to wrap up already. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your engagement and your sharing a little bit about the community. So Friends of Figma is a platform that is supported by Figma to celebrate Figma. It's pretty much that simple. It's bringing all passionate people in this community who is great at sharing, and everyone is really volunteering to just share their knowledge and to learn. Everyone's so passionate about this tool, whether you are a designer, product designer, a developer, a copywriter, anyone that is using this tool in their IT industry, I'd say, is welcome to become a part of this beautiful story. And I'm happy to be your community advocate for the chapter of Zagreb. So this is our little logo that is taken from the coat of arms of city of Zagreb, as you can probably already perceive. It's also in the background, and we will go by this logo type. So I hope it's going to be easily spotted across the community and social media. I will be your community advocate for the chapter of Zagreb, and I'm so happy and honored to be one. I will try and do my best to bring the community together, because Zagreb is really, I think, heaven for IT and for great people who are really passionate about what they do. Everyone's welcome once again. I am a product designer. I have been one for a while, but before that, I kind of transferred from graphic design. So that is my basis. And then I moved to a more digital, modern approach with the IT. And here with me today is my amazing colleague, Olga Sovac, currently based in New York, that's going to help me host this event. So I'm so happy to have you, Olga, because you're a Figma ninja. I already learned so much from you, and I can't wait for you to present. Thank you for joining, and would you mind just sharing a couple of words about yourself with us?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Lanya. Thank you so much. Hello, guys. Yes, I'm Olga. I'm Ukrainian, but I'm based in New York. I'm a senior product designer at SpaceIQ. I have more than 12 years of experience in UX and UI, but I started as a web developer, so I have the development background, and it really helped me a lot to know about the UX and UI and how to improve the user interface, the user experience, and make our life and users' life easier. So I'm also I was working in different, I would say, segments in UX, like in the finance, in the startups. Right now, we are working in the office management. So I'm happy to share today my experience, my best practices, and I hope it will help you to improve your skills as well with Figma. Thank you, Lamia.
Thank you, Olga. Guys, Olga is a former developer, so, there's nothing more to say. Beware of her. Okay, let's start this magic. We can move forward. So welcome one more time. This is the Figma Code of Conduct. They're very specific about, so zero tolerance of harassment, but we all have common sense. We're all decent human beings. So just, be nice to everyone, especially in the chat. And thank you for writing to us one more time. We're in sync with you. We see you, and we're reading everything. So this is a link that I dropped in for you to check whenever you have time later. Our agenda today is going to be constructed of 6 little segments. which is shortcuts, plugins, and auto layout that I myself am going to cover. And the amazing Golga is going to cover components, variants, and interactive components with a little bit of prototyping that necessarily goes with that. So I think, yeah, one more thing that is super important to us who support Figma so much is the config, or a global design conference held by Figma that takes place on May 10th. So make sure to register. It's also linked in here, so you can just leave your name and you'll be able to join. It's going to take 24 hours, and you're physically maybe not going to attend every speaker's little event, but make sure to checking for your favorite ones, because there's a lot of interesting topics this year around. So I'm just gonna go and join the file with everyone else, and we're gonna start with the shortcuts. So basically, I'm gonna use one as I'm starting right now. I'm gonna use Command and Dot to just minimize my user interface so you can have a sort of a presentation mode for you. So I would first like to break down what actually the word Figma means, which was really interesting. I just recently thought about the whole etymology and how it came about. And it means a figment of your imagination made real, which is just so convenient and amazing, because I think it's a tool that you can pretty much make everything you envision and visualize with. So that's great. Genius. They're just great at marketing. So shortcuts, I use, like you, obviously, mine on my keyboard, and these are probably the top hit spots that are already used and drained, but I'm hitting them the most. So it's the Shift, it's Control, Option, and Command, plus the combination of other shortcuts and letter that come together. This is a great community file. I see that someone's already selecting this one that I shared with you. You can just take a look, because it lists the entire set of these shortcuts that are great for just speeding up your work. So definitely this is something that I want to cover, because it's so useful. It just speeds up the entire workflow and process by, I would dare say, up to 100, up to 70%. I'm certain. So on Mac OS, which I'm using, but if you are on a PC, there's also in that link that I share with you a whole set of shortcuts for PC. So those are Shift, Control, Option, and Command in combination, as I said, with other letters. So let me move to the first one that I use the most. If I select the text tool and I go Control, Command, Space, I will get this beautiful emoji pop out that I can select from. And I would say that it's useful because it just helps you communicate with your colleagues that are in the file at the moment. If your copywriter is writing, something amazing, hi Christina, I see you there. You can just support her by sharing an emoji, because it's very interactive, and it pretty much, I think, resonates this widget that I found in FigJam, of course. So it's here. You can just pick any emoji from the stamp tool, and it's going to act, in real time. We don't have that in Figma, but we can just do that with emojis, and it's very interactive. It's, I think, speaking to your audiences, whoever is in the file at the moment. Moving on to positioning. This one is very useful for me personally, because I cannot help but center everything I have in front of me on my frame. So if I want to center this rectangle, I just hit Option H for vertical or horizontal centering. It all depends where you want to position it. So if it's horizontal, it's Option plus H. If it's vertical, it's Option plus V. And let's say that this circle I have here is a frame. I'm going to turn it into a frame real quick before we get there. If I drop my rectangle in this frame, right now it's functioning within this space. So I can just move it and test my shortcuts by hitting Option H and Option V for centering. Another other useful shortcuts for positionings are WASD on your keyboard, which is basically as a game. When we used to multiplayer games when we were kids, we always use keyboards for multiplayers. So that's pretty much what it does. It just sends your file to the corners. The A sends it to the top far left, B sends it top far right, W sends it top, and F sends it to the bottom. In the combination with H and B, you have a perfect control of your whole entire layout. If I put these two together like this, drop it in this frame, they are functioning as a separate element. So that's very helpful. This is a little mobile screen that I just used for an example. If I have this illustration that is probably like off grid, I can just select it and center it with these shortcuts, play around, and it just speeds up your work so much. Next one is my favorite ones. So there's a lot of quick shortcuts that I use completely unwittingly without even knowing it. And I'm just spotting the I love one, which is for chat. So if you just hit slash, your chat is gonna come out and it's great. Hello, everyone. So you can try it. It's for live chat and it just evaporates like within a couple of seconds, but you can communicate with the folks inside a file. Here I'm spotting the CTRL or Control plus G, which is for grids. So just, oh, there's a bug. Yeah, they're on, okay. They're showing. So I can make sure that make sure that my grid is on and all my elements are stacking, respectful of this grid, which is amazing for web design, for mobile design, and just taking control of your layout in terms of margins and bleeds and the whole visual hierarchy. So moving on to enter, which is for select children. I think this one is great because it just tells you what your layout is constructing of, and it's great for control. I made an example right here. This is a mobile screen that I'm gonna press enter on here. And what's happening is it's branching my layout down to the components or frames it's consisting of. Right now, I can see that my mobile is not really following the mobile screen layout frame. So it's getting out a little bit, so I can easily track why it is for. And it's because I have a component that's leaving my frame, which can be very bad for your Figma hygiene. It can break your files. It can interrupt your prototypes. So you want to make sure that everything is, there's not like, things that are just flowing around in your frames. Like, for example, this rectangle. If you can just color it in this color like the background, we cannot really spot it, but it's there and it can just interrupt your entire prototype flow. So make sure to know that one as well. Hide user interface, which I already use, is just set to presentation mode. So this one is great. It's copy that you get by selecting Option plus Shift. So if I want to drag this item, say I just want to drag this little box, but I want to make sure that it stays in the position that it already has, I will just select both Shift and Option to make sure that it stays in line. It works for vertical and horizontal positioning as well, which is just great. Now I'm going to insert a file and image using a shortcut in this frame. It's already a frame. I'm going to use Shift Command K. And, just some, this is very convenient. Yeah, I was testing it out. So an image is now in my frame and it's very easy to drop it instead of going to File, blah, 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 Place, and, looking for the file. So this one is already very useful for me. Now I will hop into opacity. This one is great for many aspects, for text layers and for images. If I want to, use my background, I don't need to go manually to the opacity panel right here and set it manually. I can just hit letters that are literally from 1 to 9 on my keyboard, or from 1 to 0 to be precise. So if I just press 1, it's going to put it to 10% opacity. If I press 0, it's 100% opacity. If I press 6, it's, you figured it out, 60% opacity. So very quick. If you want to play around with your layout, just use some gray background that's going to hang in there but not like pierce your eyes. Just set it to a lower opacity and it works great. Yeah, so this is the text that's been hit with that shortcut. You can easily just track its opacity. Very convenient. Now we're jumping to the most useful ones. Everything is useful, but I'm not even aware how much I'm using these ones. They are for inspecting things. So if I select option, if I select command, I will specifically touch the layer that my cursor is covering. So if I'm hovering above the circle and I press command, I can single it out no matter in which auto layout or frame it is. If I click option, I can see the right padding between the elements. So I always make sure that my layers are clean and that my distance is, rounded to the numbers that I'm working with, so nothing breaks. And that's just very useful for, keeping control of your layout of your frames. Hi, Tomislav. I see you. So that would be when it comes to the shortcuts. I think we left a little one over here, which is the comment. You just press C and there you go. It's very easy. I'm using a lot of them just completely unwittingly already. I'm conscious as I'm sharing this with you that's actually a fact. Now we're gonna go to plugins. Plugins are just great. They help you so much. They also speed up your work. This is a screenshot of community files that plugins can be found here. Everyone is sharing theirs, and you can always install them and test them out. Maybe some are going to work for you that's not functioning for someone else, but this is just very personal. I listed my plugins that I found the most useful in my workflow. I don't know why I dropped a LinkedIn in here. It was probably something that I was looking at the moment. So this one is called Image Tracer. Here's a link for you to download, and it's very great because if you migrated like myself from Adobe software, you must have used Adobe Illustrator, which had this amazing feature that would trace things and make them vectors, which is like infinitely scalable. And in the world of screenshots and images today, we can just screenshot pretty much anything, like this ice cream that we see here, and it's an image, as you can see in the fill configuration. But I want to make it a vector because I want to color it in whatever color I want. So I'm just going to select the screenshot, and I'm going to go to plugins and run Image Tracer, which allows me to place this traced vector, which is just great. I have complete control over it, except for it dropped it in a different space. It doesn't matter. So that's what you can do with everything else, and just make sure that your screenshots are neat and they're very well set in contrast, because it helps a lot to this plugin. That's it. Moving on to contrast. This one is very useful. Sometimes you're going to, have to satisfy accessibility in terms of just things being there for everyone, no matter what age your users are. They're going to be older people that are using the phones, for example, and they cannot tell the difference between some lower opacity frames. In that case, you want to check your contrast if it's satisfying the web content accessibility guidelines, which is a standard for web. So just select, the two elements. In this example, I'm selecting the black on white, or the black and yellow, sorry. And they're obviously satisfying the contrast ratio, which is super high and it's very accessible. Everyone can read it. But if I do something like put this plain white text against a yellow background, it's not really doing it justice because it's just failing at all terms. The contrast ratio is very small, and even people with the best viewing possibility cannot really tell it's just not a great graphic design principle to start with. So make sure your contrast is good so everyone can use your design and it's as accessible as possible. So FigJam stickers, this is not really a plugin, to be honest, but I actually dragged this from FigJam. So I love to call it a plugin because I'm constantly like just jumping from these two products, which is Figma and FigJam, and I use a lot of its features, which is, you know, stickers, illustrations, and it can just sometimes enrich your designs or function as a placeholder in your mobile phone view or whatever. I'm just gonna try and copy this and see. So say that I'm currently working on a design and I need a placeholder for my screen. Yeah, using the screenshot. And you know, something needs to happen, but I don't have time to put an illustration, so I'm just gonna use this one from the FigJam. Just gonna delete it very quick. You can see the sources here because once you copy the files, they're still the components. And if you select them and go to main component, that is great because it opens the source file. So there's not really stealing, there's just sharing. And you can, of course, feel free to copy this file and duplicate it as your own and, you know, twist, get inspired, or whatever you need. There's a lot of other great things and stickers from FigJam that you can also drop in your work. This is the next one called Isometric, a great plugin, really, really great for showcasing things. Let's say that we have this frame of a mobile phone. Right now it's full of components, right? But I wanna turn it to a PNG image. I'm gonna use a shortcut that's right here. Select this frame, and I wanna copy this as PNG. That is Command, Shift, and C. So it's in my memory, and I can paste it whatever I want right now. So if I just go and paste here, it's an image. You can see it. It's not a layer consisting of frames and components anymore. Yeah, using the opacity shortcut through this one. So why I turned it into an image, because I want to have complete control of it, and this isometric plugin works better if your layer is an image rather than a frame consisting of SVGs or vectors. It's not really breaking it right when you put it into perspective. So let's run this plugin. It's called Isometric. You can find it in the link. I select my frame and I can literally type in whatever number I want, of the degrees or perspective. I want to go with 30, 45, that is basic for starters. Just repeat it. It's working. It's really great. You can stack them up. You can make like a little background of it or do whatever you want, which I already did with the typeface behind. So really cute and really useful to use. So this one is Autoflow or FigJam connector. So there's two of them. First one is Autoflow. That is a Figma plugin. You can start it here. It really just connects your wireframes, which sometimes you need to have because, you know, if you're sharing a file with someone else, you want them to know exactly the roadmap that you planned in your head. Otherwise than that, you know, you also want to obviously have a diagram that makes sense and that leads to like a logical event. So let's take this auto layout and select the two frames. So you have to make sure that it's on while you're doing it. Although if you close it, it's not going to work. And as opposed to that, there's this beautiful integration in FigJam that I also copied from this FigJam file that is called connector. If you copy it in your Figma file, it's actually going to work real time and you do not have to start it again. It will just work always. So you see it's moving because it's dragged from FigJam. It's great for your user flows and for connecting prototypes. So next one is Blush. This one is also similar to the FigJam stickers, because it can serve as a placeholder for your designs. If you're making little cards, if there's something that you're still going to update for your own personal illustration, you can always feel free to do this one, because it's very useful. You have multiple topics in here. You can just select any one that you like, drop it here, and great, you can put it in your design. You know, it's an image. If you subscribe to this, if you buy this plugin, I'm sorry, then you have the right to play with the vectors and SVGs, but it's good for starters. At least in my case, I just use it as a placeholder until I finish my own illustration. This one is Figma Chat. We already sort of covered this one with a shortcut that you play by selecting / and then the chat comes up, but this chat evaporates, you know, it goes away. But with the Figma Chat plugin, this one stays, it's there for you, you can share it with your colleagues, and it's definitely worth it. It's very interactive. If I open chat, you're just gonna see how blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm here. In fact, if you all had an edit mode, you would be able to write on this. We could all just share our thoughts, which is amazing. Now getting to one of my favorite ones, definitely, which is called Remove Background. Also, as a former Adobe or Photoshop user, I used to do this a lot. I would remove background on people's, you know, hair, and for purposes like obviously wanted to have a transparent layers that I want to stick one in front of another, and it just didn't make sense when you would just Photoshop this hair for like an entire hour, you know, with the feather kind of plugins and so on. It took ages, and Figma has this amazing, insane plugin that just removes your background with a little click. So you select your image, no matter how complex it is. I tried a lot of that, trust me, and it really does it justice. So I don't know why I dropped in the end here. Those were just the first images I Googled, and it works perfect. Let me just try one more time. Yes, it works every time. Never fails me. So this one is a QR code generator. You know how you always want to subscribe to those Bitly or QR code generator, like online virtual web pages that always require you to either subscribe, because in like a month they probably send you a lot of ads that when you scan your codes. No one wants that. This one is a free plugin that you can generate entirely in your Figma design, which is great because you can just scan it later with your phone. You can use this prototype. In fact, I put this Figma config link here, so we can just try and generate in real time this QR code to see how it functions. Let me call the generator. I drop my link, I place the QR code. Let me do it one more time. Sorry. Here it is. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to with my phone right now, because if you have an iPhone, it does support a QR code reader. It's integrated in your camera, so you can really test it. It's working. Yeah, it read the config, so good. So moving on to the Jiffy. This, again, is not really a plugin that comes inside of Figma, but it's so worth it because this is an app that you download from the internet, but I'm just going to run it. It's called Jiffy or Jiffy Capture. And you can pretty much record anything you have on your screen, and it turns it into a GIF or an MP4, and then you can use it even in your Figma files. So let me just test it. I'm just gonna do it for like split 2 seconds. Stop. Here it is. This is my recording right now. I'm gonna save it as, okay, this is good. Desktop. It's saved. Let's say I have a frame. Just gonna delete everything, and yeah, here's my recording. I just drop it in. set my aspect ratio. You can play with it, you can cut it, you can do whatever you want. Just make sure that it stays inside a frame. And once you go into the prototype mode, it should run as a video. So this is my video that I just recorded, and it's working great. So let's go back to the presentation. Yeah, we're getting to auto layout, which is probably, well, I would say people's favorite and people's most hated feature of Figma. I just want to share my opinion and my own personal intake into how I got to understand auto layout better. So I know a lot of you are already killing it, but let's just check that what was that one thing that made me understand and comprehend everything much better. So it's just understanding that auto layout basically works in two aspects. One of them is stacking and the other one is relationship. The first aspect is stacking, and I want to make sure that I know my auto layout, which is what relationship these things are in and how they're connecting to each other. So are they stacked vertically or horizontally? There's always going to be either vertical or horizontal stacking. In this example, it's obviously vertical stacking with my elements. In this example, with the buttons, it's obviously horizontal stacking. It already helps so much, but if I take this card and I just take the whole complexity out of it, which is like separate features, I can see how it behaves. So this is the stacking I'm talking about. Here you have the vertical one, and here you have the horizontal stacking, of course. Yeah, so there we go. And I want to talk about how amazing it is to create little things with auto layout that are just, blowing your mind. Really, if you copy this button, you want to set everything to hug contests, or actually let's create it from scratch, If I just right button and I hit a super great shortcut, which is Shift plus A, it is already created auto layout. I want to set my fill. Sorry, I want to set my fill to any color really. But if I add the margins, it's gonna make it all great. If I set the radius corner to some number, it's going to make it more decent. And if I put it to center, it's also going to give it a more button look that you can play around with afterwards. Let me just quickly hop into zero height frame, because I think this is a very complex hack that helps a lot with auto layout, which enables complex things like, having complete control of your stacking, that I always get back to, because it's very important to know where you're stacking things, either horizontally or vertically. So in this example, let's say that I want to make a button that has this little star at the top. But in order to construct everything, I simply cannot take the star and take the text and put them together, because they're not going to function. Because let me see how it looks. I take the star and I put it together with the text and I whack auto layout. This is probably the closest they can get, which doesn't really make sense. But if I want to construct a whole button, I need to use the zero frame, which enables my elements to roam literally outside of my frame. So if my frame is really 0 pixels in either height or width, my elements can still be all across this frame without exiting it. So you can see there's two ways of making this frame, which is by drawing a line or creating a frame. But I always support drawing a line because it naturally has the default 0 height. So let's go and create a line. I'm whacking L for shortcut, and I'm creating a line. And I want to turn this line, which already measures 0, into a frame. So I whack Option Command G. I set it into a frame. Here's my line, and it's inside a frame that measures 0. If I take my star right here and I copy it inside of this frame that I'm going to call 0 frame, here it is. I'm just going to hide the line. The frame is here. I can move the star however I want, and this is my frame. That gives me all the rights with all the layout, especially if I want to create a text layer that says button. We're getting there. Just bear with me. I have my 0 frame, I have my button, I whack Shift A, they're in auto layout, and this is the relationship, which is exactly what I want. When I set it to fill, okay, I can move around my 0 frame however I want, or the star which is inside it, which means I can get, pretty much the best control of it. With my button, I just want to make sure it's inside, and my margins are set to a specific number that creates like more buttony feeling. My 0 frame is here. My star is here. If I set the hug contents on both constraint and resizing, and if I put my 0 frame star into top right, if I set it like this, and it has to fill container when it comes to resizing, it's gonna work like this. Basically, just copy the settings and make sure that you take care of the stacking of the elements. It can be horizontal, it can be vertical, but in this example, my star is in the line that is vertically connected to the text layer that is framing my button. You can pretty much do, a lot of with this naming. Just make sure that your 0 frame height is filling the container, because that helps him follow the size of your width of your button. Here goes circular flames. This is an icon that I put in a frame that is obviously square, but if you want to put it into like a navigation bar that you're going to use for a mobile screen, you can put it to a certain radius. It's gonna corner it to like circles that you can then put in auto layout together. Just behaves nicely when it comes to organizing things. You don't have to take care of the distance. The auto layout will take care on its own. And now getting back to patterns, I'm actually going to use this with shortcuts really quick. Just copy this layer. Okay, here are the eyes I constructed, just basically using some of the shortcuts that I already presented. Let's say that this one is the pattern that I want to use for my auto layout. So the first one gets copied. I select them together. I whack Shift A for auto layout, and I have the distance between them that I can control right now. If I just try to repeat the process by copying them with shortcuts, I'm already getting my patterns. But if I put all these elements in auto layout, now I have even better control of them. I can repeat on stacking them until I get my pattern. just collect them together. Whatever you put in an auto layout, it automatically organizes to, you know, a group that you can later edit. You can stack as many times as you want. You could just make columns out of it and put it on an auto layout. It just automatically, yeah, comes together, and you decide if it's vertical or horizontal. So it's great for pattern making as well. When it comes to overlapping objects, say I have a star that is in this frame. If I want to duplicate it and put it in an auto layout relationship, set it to 0 padding. This is probably the closest they're going to get because it's limited really with the frame. But if I want them to overlap, I'm going to do that with the, you know, setting the frame differently. So my frame is not going to be circular anymore. It's going to actually drop down, but make sure not clip content because that would cut the remaining axis that comes out of the frame then. So if my frame is basically smaller than the whole image, I can just whack auto layout, and of course, oh sorry, I just did it one more time. Just copy it. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Here are my 2 stars. Put it in auto layout. That is exactly what I want. There you go. Overlapping object. These are the resources I collected for you, so you can read the articles, you can roam around this file because you already have it, and you know, get really great tutorials that are more thorough than this one, because right now I'm just going through, you know, things that made me realize it better and comprehend the whole like logistics behind it. So I would now give it to my friend Olga, that is taking over and is going to talk about components and variants and interactive components from here. I hope you enjoyed, and I will stick here for whatever you need. So Holga, here you go. The scene is yours. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lamia. I need your permission to share screen. Then start. Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen, right? Good. All right, my favorite part about Figma, the components. I know like everybody's working with the components. I know everybody knows what components are and why do we use them. And it makes our life easier always if we're gonna make it in the right way. But today I wanna just show you my like famous, and I think my favorite tricks with the components. I make them a little bit more complicated than it's supposed to be. So for example, here, on this part, right? So I put just the border and I put the icon. I know we can use icons like the check mark or the star or any other icon like a favorite or button or arrows or something like this. We can have them many different variations. So what I like about the component, I create the basic main component, and inside the body, I place similar icons. So as you know, we have outline icons, we have fill icons, and we can have the hybrid icons. So in case if I want to change it, I can simply switch it here in the main component. That's really useful in the future, and I can show you why. Same with the star component. So if you have your borders, just to be sure that icon fits very well in the 24 pixels. And especially like if you're working with that outline and fill component, you can easily switch it here if you need it. Why am I doing it here? I can explain on the molecules level, or variants actually. Variant, we're gonna go to molecules. So because I inserted 2 different style into the one icon, and then I generated the variants. And why I did it. It's really helpful to play around when you're building your interface. So for example, if I will choose the outline component, I will place it here, right? I can give this icon another property. And because I created different variants of the icon, I can easily switch from outline to filled or hybrid if I need it, if icons are the same, right? I can easily switch from the size, which is really save my time when I need to create additional like text item or selection or any other direction or element when I'm creating my interface, especially if it's a complex interface. So this gives me flexibility. Yes, in the beginning, it takes time, it takes effort, but in the end, you just enjoying when you have everything in the one file. Of course, if you're gonna create the library and you're gonna publish it, it's gonna be really easy to use. And of course, with the variants, you can do your stuff with variants. You can change the color, you can change the shape, but because we have a main component, I'm just gonna show it highlighted here. And our main component is this one. So whenever I want to change the color or the size of the component, let's say when I have it red, I want to have it 6 pixels. It will be changed here as a variant because all the variants based on the one main component. And if, for example, I don't want to have this outline anymore, or I don't use it at all, I'm just simply delete it from the main component and I keep just the fill component. So basically it will replace, I can show you inside, it will be replaced with the fill component. So nothing's gonna be there. So if you want to, this is the important thing, if you want to change your variants with some colors and strokes, you can do it here. But if you want to change on the global level, it's better to have one main component. And here is a list I put it, what you can do inside, right? You can do, you can change the color, you can change shape, you can change size, everything, whatever you want to. So basically, I'm gonna just put it back because I might need it in the future. And this is the basic. So starting it from the really tiny one, basically from the atom, going to variants, creating many of them. And even if you have your variants here in your library, once you're gonna publish it, you have your star, you can drag and drop it. And you can see, I'm just highlighting this, the background. You can change your size. You do not need to use the original component because original component is this one. This is the star. And you see the differences. So I will zoom in. Here, you just have your icon itself. Here is the variant. You playing with properties. Whatever you want to do, you can change it. Of course, you can change it to another icon if that icon has the variants. But here you cannot, like you just need to go and change the original parent component itself, which gives, I would say, zero flexibility, especially when you need to right now and build the interface. Another cool stuff about the variants, like the best thing about the variants, it's a well-prepared, they should be well-prepared. And from this small, I don't know, I would say small version of variants, I'm gonna go to molecules and also making another variants based on the one main component. So assuming you need a list in the future and you might have really cool, like really complex interface. And this interface can consist the layout, the list of component, like just a single line, the gonna be 2 line, It can be the 2-line plus avatar. It can be 2-line plus icon. It can be, again, 2-line plus the right icon. So it's going to be many, many different variants in your interface, in just in one place, in another place, especially for the enterprise products, also for the mobile products, even for the websites, whatever you need it. So thinking about the future, what I usually potentially I can have. Of course, at any time I can get back to the main component and I can just do some slight changes on the base one. But thinking about it, in advance, I'm working with this one and I'm thinking, okay, I need the avatar. This is I wrapped up in the body and I use avatar. Then I say I might need an icon, the text, 2-line or 3-line or 1-line. Then on the right side, I might need the text and I might need an icon. So everything I'm placing here all together. Of course, you will never have such a complicated element in your interface because it's not user-friendly, it's not useful. And in addition to this, I might need the subtitle to build my list. For the subtitle, I'm also placing like icon and the text. And then I'm making variants based on what is inside the parent component. And this gives me this flexibility. So once I created really complicated nested component as a menu, I can create many variants and I can place them like this in order so I can see the list. In this variants, I group them as a menu, as you can see here, and they have different properties and different values. So I just little messed up here with the names, but for example, here I use like a text style, I use the icon left, icon right as a description, right? And for entire variants, I put just as a text style what can be possible. Of course, you can do it better, like ideally it should be better. Icon left, icon right, I used as a Boolean because it is really helpful. And this is what I'm going to show you on the next variant and more complex stuff. So first I create this is really complicated nested component. Then I made the different variants, what can be useful. And once I had those variants, each based on the parent component, I start creating the really complicated organisms. And also, I can change inside the style. For example, this is really simple. And I can say, okay, I have my menu, but I don't want to have, I want to have 2 lines. I can switch to 2 lines. Or I want to have icon left, or I have icon right. And you see, as you can see, I missed one component when there can be 2 lines with left icon and with right icon. So that means I need to go back here and I need to create it. Actually, we can do this with the icon. And it's going to be simple. So based on what we already have, I can go to the site. I can go expand my body. I can say I need an icon or avatar. Only one thing what I need to do is I need to name it properly because it gives me error. So I can say it's 2 lines, no label, 2 lines icon. For example, icon left, yes, and icon right, yes. I just need to change to the icon as well. It's in the right side. So already I have all of them. And this is another variant. So if I need to add this variant to my list, I can go back here. I can choose them. I can say icon left, icon right, it's here. Makes it easy. It's easy to operate. In the future, like if you want to publish it as the component itself, right? Like in the library, I have only one list because all of them, they grouped under the big frame. It's called list. So you can create many different variations with different options, which gonna be really helpful with the subtitle, without subtitle. You can turn it off and on anytime. And as a component itself, it's already a list in the library. You can drag and drop it, for example. It can be mobile application, anywhere. And from the drop down in the properties, you can choose whatever list you need. In case if you don't need something from the list, you can always hide some details. Or, for example, if you don't need the entire section, you can remove it. You can make it shorter or can keep it like this. Of course, you're not removing it, you're hiding it because this is the like a subcomponent, right? It's not the parent one, which is built here. So easy and simple for especially for the complex UI. This is the one thing, and it really makes my life easier. So what else I using during the UI, like creating UI interfaces, and it's my favorite part also. I love nested interactive components. It's really similar to what we have here. Of course, like if you want to make it even more complicated, you're gonna do interactive component, then you interactive component you're gonna include in this complex organism, and you can create a list. I decided to separate it just to not make it really, really complicated. So what I did here, again, based on the icon, I put icon as the frame, like just Lamia was showing us that the frame, you can operate with the borders, you can change the color and everything. And here on the level, on the prototype level, I just made the basic interactions between the components. I didn't do interaction to disabled because it's already disabled. You cannot click on it, you cannot hover on it. It just disabled, but it should be here. And the simple way to show it, like with the nested interactive component, is the layout. And because of the tiny elements, let me zoom in. You see the hover over already here. By click, you have stroke text. You can unclick it. That works fine. Everything based only on this variance and this variance. Instead of creating like several frames, instead of creating like several different overlaps, you can just create the variants, make simple interactions, put them together, and make your own list. So basically, this one is just already to go for any simple, I don't know, notes list, easy to use. This is the really cool part about the interactive component. I don't know, Lamia, do we have enough of time? Like then I can just show how to,
Please
create
go
a simple
on.
one.
Yes.
Cool. So let me do this one. I was playing around. Let's create the simple dropdown. And let me switch to the design mode. Usually the dropdown consists the menu item, right? So that's gonna be really simple. I'm just using it there frame and giving the background, giving the auto layout, giving the frame 12. So, and I need to call it as a menu item. And it can be the component. So this is the main component of the menu item for the future, the dropdown. What I don't like is this text, it's too big. Make it smaller. So this is the main component. Based on the main component, I will create 2 sub-components. Then I will do like this, create multiple components, which gives me flexibility, for example, right? So whenever I want to choose the text, or I can say it will change child, like children itself. So, which is also useful. So I have 2 of them. What I need to do is I need to make a variant. And as a variant, I can say this is a default. This is the hover. And for hover, I can set up a different color. But first I need to turn it off here. So here is the white. Here is the different color. For example, like this. And is an interaction, really simple. Everybody knows it, how to work. So while hovering, it will interact. So if we want to check it out, we're gonna drop the main component and see how if it works as a test. So it works. On hovering, it changed the color. So we are done with this part. So now it's the time to create the drop-down button. I love to use the Nucleo. It's a really helpful tool. I need the arrow, switch into the design mode. I need the text. Or let's say, please select. I also using the frame here. You can say drop down. I do it also the auto layout, so it always needs to be in the select same line, the centered, and probably I need to also like 12, or I can say it's going to be 8 margin. I can say I need the stroke with their, I don't know, 60, and I need some borders. So drop down, the main component is ready as well. So in this case, when we have a drop down and we have this tiny guys here, I need to create simple different versions of this just to reuse in the future. It's going to be our default stuff, default drop down, also based on the main component. And we need some submenus. So let me just duplicate them here, because we might need a different interactions with them. If I will select, I'm sure Lamia is much better than me with the auto layout and organizing stuff, but this is not my strength part. I duplicated all of them, prepared all of them. Then what else do we need? We need some menu items. And in this case, I will take it menu item from here as a list. So I will try to align. Again, with their duplicates, I will make a list of 4. I will group them. I will put it as an auto layout. Easy to use. I need some frame color. I can click the content. I need some corners here. I just need some drop shadow just to look it nicely. This is 8. This is 20. Sort of it. Okay, so we are ready to go. This is the frame. This is the menu list. And what we're gonna do is, I think I did the wrong thing. We need the component. So this component based on the parent and our menu list. Instead of, I made a went too fast. Instead of this, I can do next changes. So we have a component, but by default, we don't need the menu. right here. We can disable it. What else I did? Sorry, I just messed up here again. This also needs to be a component, but here we go. Before creating the component, I need all of them separate together, and it's gonna be another component at the beginning, right? So another component, 3 components, and we can say as the variants, we can change them later. We can say state. We need this property as a state property, and we can say this is a dropdown. It's very simple. So this one should be default. And for the default, we don't need the list, but we do need some color here. For hover state, we also don't need the list, but probably we need some color, what is little slightly different to the default state. And for the pressed one, we also pressed based on change the name, hover. For the pressed one, we need the list. We need to change it to pressed. We have this. So basic interactions, again, with these components, go into the prototype, and why it's not connecting? Change, yeah, here we go. If Figma has any issues, while hovering, we are going to change to hover. That's why. So when you are on hover, you can say on click, I want to like see the items right here. And how it's supposed to work, right? We have all our states, and if it's a default, I made this misspelling. So putting it right here. With the one element, it should be like as a simple drop down. We are hovering. By click, it shows the menu. Of course, if you want to make it like ideally, you need to make several interactions, and it should be really smoothly when you have pressed, active, selected, and again, hover when selected, like to just get back to the default state. But basically, if you need like several menu drop downs, let's say from here, from the pressed one, I will go back to default. And it should work. If you have like just a menu in the website, so you see by click it works. For the better smooth interactions, you need to create several of them. But basically like this. You create in the drop downs, you can place it everywhere. And of course, if you want to change, for example, in the state here, you select in the menu list, and if you have another plugin, I use Faker. Sorry, not here. This one. When you're selecting this one and you're selecting the state pressed when you have your menu, you go into another plugin Faker. You, for example, selecting states. That's it, right? And again, coming back to pressed from pressed to default, you run in it. As an example, it shows me states. So whatever you want to choose. Like you just simply change the text, you place in your drop downs, make it way smoother, and you're ready to go with your interactive prototype. I know it's like it takes a lot of time at the beginning because you need to think in advance, you need to play a lot in advance. But whenever you want to reuse it, especially for the big libraries, for the enterprise products, for anything else, it will just work across entire UI. Um, this is like usually it's really helpful for me because I don't need to spend time to rebuild and to create from scratch something new. In case if I really need something, I'm gonna go back to the menu, to the original parent component itself, and then I'm gonna do some changes there. Questions, guys, if you have it, in case, I don't know, I didn't see that. Of course, you're gonna share it, yeah, but yeah, something like this. I hope I didn't make it too complicated.
It was great, Olga. Thank you so much. And everyone, if you have questions, feel free to drop in chat. If no, um, you'll have the file, so you can just play inside of the file. You can follow all the links, and you can understand the logic behind what we did better when you're in the file when you expect it. So Olga, thank you so much. I don't know if you had to add something else. Maybe I sort of cut you off a little bit with it,
No, that's
or
fine.
no.
I'm just gonna create additional, the transitions here because I don't want to take also people's time. I will create smoother interactions between like pressed, active, selected, and coming back just to finish the slide, and that's it. Make changes. I hope that this was useful. Lamia, I given you sharing options in case if you want to share something. Oh, we have a question. One question is there any way to export the auto layout component screen? iOS
Okay,
storyboard.
I'm just. Um, Hello, Lucia. Thank you for your question. Um, okay, you just dropped it. I don't think there is a way to export the exported screen, but you can inspect as a developer, like one that you are. You can understand the relationships by inspecting elements. Once you just hover over the auto layout component, it will show the relationships and the distances, the margins and the bleeds around the elements that are basically in the frame that you are selected. So you will pretty much understand how they are hanging together. What's their lineup? Are they horizontal, vertical? What's the parent to child relationship? And I think the inspect mode that Figma allows for the developers is great for you to copy as a CSS and incorporate to one of your codes. If that answers your question. Hope it does. Olga, as a former developer, I hope you can add something else to this.
No, you're right. I think here that makes sense, right? You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, zero frame was new for me. Never heard of it before. Yeah, it's a great thing, but there's many ways of doing it, and it's relatively new for me because I really took my time with understanding it. What was the point, Koranka, to completely comprehend the zero frame was just repeating. I have to repeat myself stacking. So you have to know if your auto layout is functioning vertically or horizontally, and then once you choose like lineup as a vertical or horizontal, you decide on the relationship between your elements. So if you have like multiple icons, multiple text that is lined up horizontally, you have to know which is framing what. So if there's a frame that's laying that's like surrounding its children, those children have to hug that parent, and that parent has to like hug those children, and vice versa. Or it has to fill container if you want to just responsibly change the size of your frame. So it really makes sense to just to kind of dig deeper in it and test it on your own. And there are a lot of great just tutorials that I put in this file for you. So zero frame is really not that complex. It's just once you understand the relationships, it's going to really help you a lot, because you'll get better control over playing around and just stacking things like infinitely. So thank you for that. If you have more questions, please drop them in the chat. We're gonna hang here for a little bit longer, but I want to thank everyone for being able to join us. I see a lot of folks, and I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed. This is really just sharing our best practices, because I know everyone has their different individual approach, and it's about understanding what someone else finds, I think, as useful, and then you can implement it in your work. You can just broaden your horizons a little more, probably speed it as much as possible, because we all want to get faster when designing, of course, and deliver in time. So, hi Anthony, are your components appearance structurally 100% same as the props in the code? Olga?
As the code, this is the interesting question. Would can you specify what you mean in the code? Because it's really different. This is like, because in the Figma file, and if, of course, developers, they're gonna take a look and the inspect and they're gonna build it, that makes sense. Because usually, like in my experience, and this also what I'm gonna tell to every designer, that it's better do not create something really creative which gonna cause a lot of problems. So it should be pretty simple, and yeah, that makes, which is like makes more sense to everyone, because developers, they're gonna see something, they're gonna say, no, we cannot make it. So another thing about the components, if you have all of them, and if you already have the different states, and you're already showing how it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to work as a prototype, so yes, developers, they can take a look at the inspect, and they can make it exactly like you build it in Figma.
There you go. We all have to collaborate. If anyone has no questions, Olga, do you maybe have a question?
I don't have. I just wanted to let you know that I finished that the smooth interactions between default hover pressed, active selected, and hover when selected. So you simply can just reuse it and
Amazing.
Right.
We have one more from Koranka, and I'm just gonna read it out loud. I have trouble with the auto layouts. If I have several auto layouts, I'm not sure how to work with them. That's a great call. I'll get to you. Sometimes things don't stack as I want them to. For example, if I have a frame that is vertically aligned, okay, and I have another frame that is horizontally aligned, and now I want them to have a certain spacing between them. That's a great call. I would actually like to demonstrate this one
Yeah.
really quickly in Figma.
Yep.
If you don't mind. So one is, it's just, okay. That is a great call. So let me just copy this frame. And I'll work in it. So you literally named one of the examples that I, well, just didn't cover for some strange reasons. But so this is an auto layout organism that is constructed of different little auto layout ones, right? Both vertical and horizontal. Where in the first example, you have these three elements that are vertically stacked. They are the productivity, the headline, and the body text. And you can check it by just, trying to set their padding to a different side. Under them, there are another elements that are also in an auto layout relationship. But you have to know that these two are in a smaller auto layout relationship. So they are in their own frame, and they're related horizontally to this read more one. that is an auto layout in itself. It's currently set to space between because I wanted to fill uh, because I wanted to fill this container. But if I set it to packed, I can control the distance between it. If I set it to space between, then it's defined by the padding, and my padding is currently 0, so that is why the read more text is touching the end of the frame. This is on my right side. They're all in vertical alignment, and on the left side, I have this image, and you have to know that it's a great complex organism that's actually, yeah, lined up horizontally. So what I'm saying right now is on the right is a set of elements that are stacked not only vertically and are right in the relationship to the image that is on the left, set horizontally. So I don't know if this answers your questions, but this is really about, just understanding that sort of stacking and knowing how many little auto layouts you have within a bigger organism. So you can have as much of them as possible, to the point where you really control your auto layout. If you lose control of it, you just, take a step back and remind yourself which ones you connected into a bigger organism. And then I hope it answers your question. So that's it. Just play around with it. I really encourage you to dig deep and see as much tutorials, but I never learned it until I took it like in my own hands, and my own initiative was just inspect the elements in a draft file, play around with it, set the relationships, and see how it works. Because while someone else is explaining that to you when they get it perfectly right, it doesn't matter that you're going to understand their logic. I think with auto layout, everyone has to have their own logic of understanding how it functions. So I hope it answered your question. Thank you. Here we go. It's perfect that I had a great example already in the file. So I'm gonna stop sharing right now. Thank you guys, everything. Honestly, I could go on for longer than this questions because it just enrolls. It's really fun and it gets more live. And thank you for being a part of this real-time creation. I always get excited where I, um, am present in something that's being created like right now rather than watching a recording afterwards. But I mean, whoever didn't have time, there's going to be a recording as well. We're going to publish it in the community, and I will let you know on social media, of course. One more time, thank you, everyone. Olga, especially you. You were a great host and a presenter, and we learned so much from you. So I'm looking forward to the future one that probably I'm going to announce very soon as well. And stay connected, stay with the community, check our work, and please share because we can all learn so much from each other. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. I see you. Yeah. Olga, have a
Thank
great
you.
day. And
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be part of this event. I hope I don't know, I brought some good ideas, at least about the plugins what I use. If you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I place my LinkedIn profile. Like, in case, just really any questions, please let me know.
yeah,
Have a
guys,
great evening to everyone.
I just wanted to say that if everyone plays this video when the recording comes out in slow motion, you probably will understand much better because we were really fast this time around. But thank you for your time and patience and bearing with us. I love you, and I'll see you on the next event. See you guys.
Thank you,
Enjoy your
guys.
evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll see you.
Bye. See you.